Hey guys, I'm Rad Joey,
And I'm Maxon.
and welcome back to FutureSight. Today we're covering Excadrill from Dark Explorers. Excadrill is a stage 1 that evolves from Drillbur. It's a fighting type with 120 hit points, 2 attacks, a water weakness, resistance to lightning, and a retreat cost of 3. Excadrill's 2 attacks are firstly Tunnel Hole, which for 1 fighting allows you to choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and do 30 damage to that Pokemon. The second attack is Excavation Attack, which for 2 fighting energy allows you to do 50 damage, and then choose any card from your discard pile, show it to your opponent, and then add it to your hand. We'll start by looking at its second attack. As I mentioned, it's 2 fighting energy for 50 damage and pick up any card from your discard pile. The way that this can be used is any card that you've actually used can become instantly reusable. You've got the fact that you can pick up a catcher every single turn. You can pick up switch, but basically any card you need for the moment, as long as it's in your discard pile, you can use it again. It also makes cards like Junk Arm and Ultra Ball a lot easier to actually. Sorry, it makes the discards for those cards a lot easier because those tough decisions aren't quite as hard to make anymore. If you're umming and ahhing about what to drop, at least you know you can get one of those 2 cards back. So you're only effectively dropping 1 good card. So, Maxim, what do you think?
I think I like Catcher.
Straight to the point, as usual.
Well, yeah, I mean, like with this guy, Catcher suddenly becomes a card that you can just keep using turn after turn after turn, assuming that there's nothing else you need to get back in a hurry. But yeah, with Catcher, this guy, as I say, Catcher just becomes a constant card you can keep using. Probably, I think the main thing I see with this card is probably going to be with the already popular eel engine, just being able to catch up eels every turn and knocking them out sounds pretty good for the extra player. And it's also an interesting matchup against these new Zoroark decks that will be showing up, being able to knock out. Well, it can knock out Zoroark off the bat, but it can also knock out any bench stuff you want to particularly get rid of, maybe like Darkrai X or something.
Actually, that is actually going to be an interesting matchup, and I'd like to cover that shortly. But actually, going back to the main point you were talking about, the fact that you do hit a lot of the format for weakness.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it's only like a base of 50 damage, which isn't enough, isn't a lot against many things. But really, you've got like half the format is weak to you, so it's like Eel only has 90 hit points, you're hitting for 100. Either of the Zekroms, you hit those for 100, they're 1 attack away from being knocked out, which is it's always going to be a strong benefit for you. I mean, if you hit a Zekrom X, it might still be around, but you're still exchanging 1 attack for 1 prize.
yeah.
Effectively, 6 attacks could be game in an ideal situation.
Yeah, well, the whole thing with Excadrill seems to be just targeting the opponent's weaker support cards and just going for those.
True. Another point about actually targeting weaker support cards is actually I want to point out Tunnel Hole, the first attack.
Of hitting eel.
Yeah, well, everyone seems to be running the 30 hit point eel right now. I mean, if Excadrill's popularity rises at all, you could actually see opposing players actually running the 40 hit point eels just to avoid the chance of being sniped off before they can evolve.
Mm.
The plus side for like the rest of the format in this case is there's a strong chance that the Excadrill player doesn't have to worry about their opponent now having that free retreater when they knock something out. You take away all their 30 hit point eels, they now have to either use switch or burn an energy to actually get the retreat off.
Mm.
Which, obviously, yeah, in eels, burning 1 energy isn't a big deal because you can grab it back, but it's the fact that they have to actually invest that attachment. Which means the idea of a 1-turn Zekrom it's pretty much blown out of the water. I mean, they're going to have 2 eels out, they're going to need the manual attachment of either DCE for Zekrom X or any energy from the hand for the normal Zekrom to be able to get their biggest attack out in one turn.
The one matchup we haven't talked about, which is the one I think is quite hilarious for Excadrill to be able to. I don't know if I can say beat, but it looks like it will, is a Durant matchup with the ability to constantly get Flower Shop Lady back to your hand. It effectively means you can shut down Durant's entire strategy.
That's a great point in itself. I mean, if you're against Durant, most likely you're going to be only able to really hit them for 10 or 20 damage a turn, depending on how they've buffered themselves.
Yeah,
but 10 or 20 a turn, if they're not really milling you, is still going to actually... It's still going to claim you the prizes. I mean, you could still play it into the late game. They're not really milling you at all. Also, there's cards away from Blow Shop Lady. Using a card like Super Rod continuously, so you can still get your supporter for the turn, will put you in a position where they're only at most milling one card a turn. Add into that cards like Loss Remover and Crushing Hammer if you don't mind the coin toss. And you can just try and starve them of energies.
No, they'll be starving you, trying to starve you of energies.
Well, it can work either way, really. I mean, it's a case of as long as you can replenish your deck in any way and then just take that one prize, you pretty much have the game locked up there. So while we're actually moving out onto other matchups, might as well head back to Zoroark now.
Yeah, that's fine.
You personally raised a bit of concern about this, like wondering which one would do best.
Yeah, it's just obviously Excadrill has a type advantage, but 120 HP isn't too far-fetched for Zoroark to be able to hit for. But again, Zoroark also only needs like a double colorless to actually start doing anything.
Yeah, I noticed that myself. I think I've noticed the actual key to for Excadrill to win that matchup is mostly to take away the bench support as quick as possible. Use that catcher. Oh, is that a Zoroark that's not evolved yet? Well, I'll get rid of that to get rid of your late game. Are you running a Sneasel there? Well, I'll get rid of that so you can't drop a card from my hand. You can, because you've got catcher every turn, you can constantly just grab what you need. And not only does that stop them setting up a mid to late game, but it also stops them from reaching their higher damage output.
I think
they could probably claim a prize off 1 or 2 drills, but if you're taking away their Zoroarks, they have to replenish their deck and then search them back out to use them. And I don't think that 2 Zoroarks can effectively beat 4 Excadrill. Especially as you do effectively one-shot everything in their deck.
I think the EXP shard is going to be the big crucial card in Excadrill to win that matchup, because Zoroark can probably knock out Excadrills probably as easily as Excadrill can knock out Zoroark, especially with the Dark Claw tool that we'll be getting. But if Excadrill can constantly keep setting up other Excadrills, it will probably turn into Excadrill's favour, especially if they're running other things like Terrakion or any other fighting guys to back them up.
True. That's actually something we've not actually mentioned backup for Excadrill yet, and he does seem like the kind of Pokemon that would need backup.
Definitely. I mean, it's only got 120 HP, which is, in this format, is actually pretty lackluster. I mean, it gets one shot.
It's 120 on a stage 1 though, so yeah, I think that's it's pretty well given. I mean, I don't think there's any stage 1 with more hit points other than stuff like Blissey with 130, but it can't attack well. But we also
I could probably find something.
Yeah, you probably could. There's probably something out.
Waylord.
Oh yeah. That guy I like to kill. The guy I like to kill. Yes. Just call me Ahab. I like to kill Waylords. But I'm thinking mostly the excavation attacks damage output of 50. I mean, against electric and dark, 50 is becomes a nice sizable 100 for 2.
I think it's more that Excadrill has to concentrate more on being able to control the board and being able to hit weaker targets than it is just going all out and just rampaging around the field.
That is a good point, but it's a case of with Excadrill only having that 50, he doesn't really have much of a mid to late game, as far as damage output's concerned.
Yeah, that's true.
You can disrupt, you can slow down every other deck out there, but eventually somebody's going to be able to actually push you into the mid to late game and really just apply that pressure, and it'll eventually win them if they can apply that pressure to you. I mean, I think a good partner. I mean, we both mentioned it actually, and this is actually more of your brainchild than anything. It was actually the Aerodactyl from the same set.
Oh, right.
The Primal Scream.
Yeah. The extra 10 damage.
Yeah, the extra 10 damage at any point. Also the fact that, as you mentioned yourself, he can attack for all colourless.
Yeah, at 3 colours for 40.
Yeah, 3 colours for 40. It's also a nice grass weakness, so these strongly hyped Empoleon decks don't really hit you for weakness anymore.
Yeah, but that's saying that. I think Empoleon could probably easily knock out Aerodactyl.
True, just due to the sheer numbers.
I mean, Jumpluff could easily get to 90 without any real major problems, and Empoleon has a bit more HP.
That is a good point. But the fact that at least he's giving you an extra 10, which means anything electric or dark is now taking 120.
Yeah.
You're hitting for 60 at a time, so it could be say for example something like a Mewtwo with now 3 shots instead of 4. I mean, Mewtwo's always going to be a big part of the format. Even if it does fall in popularity, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be something worth talking about.
The biggest staple card. As for an attacker we've got in this entire format, it can be splashed into every deck without sacrificing consistency. I think it's always going to be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Until we get things like, unless we do get things like New X, which is a completely tangent here, but things like that are probably only going to be the things that'll stop Mewtwo.
True. I think right now, quite a bit's going to knock Mewtwo down a peg or two. It won't be. People won't stop playing it. It's going to be there. It's going to stay.
Getting back on the track of the cards we talk. Well, Excadrill and all. The Empoleon matchup isn't. It's quite an interesting triangle you've got there, because Excadrill probably does very well against the Eel matchup, but the Eel matchup probably will get Empoleon in its place. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Empoleon actually, how well played it'll be, if people will just sacrifice the weakness to the meta for its attack, or if it won't be run, or what will happen.
I can see people wanting to test Empoleon, but with it being weak to such a huge part of the metagame, it'll fold. Its damage output won't be high enough. I mean, even with an additional draw and attacking for 1, it's knocked out by anything that's electric type, and it has 140 hit points. So Zoroark itself can, if it gets set up, just wreck Empoleon turn after turn.
That's true.
So I'd just like to get back onto the Aerodactyl. I mean,
well, there's not a lot much to talk about. It gives you a +10, and that's really all it does. I mean, obviously it gives Excadrill bigger numbers to hit for, which is nice.
But there's also the calling requirement.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good idea to actually cover Twist Mountain, I think.
Yeah, especially with Excadrill.
Yeah, with Twist Mountain, you can actually flip a coin and call Aerodactyl from your hand to your bench instead of having to rely on the actual stadium, instead of relying on the fossil cards.
Yeah, we are talking about a stadium, I should say.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's like, as you say, once per turn, each player can flip a coin. If it's heads, you can play a revived, quote-unquote, Pokemon from your hand onto your bench. Yeah. Which, with Excadrill, obviously, most people won't like the coin toss. I don't like coin tosses, but it seems to be better than the alternative for fossils at the moment. But especially with Excadrill, if your opponent plays another Stadium card, it's not too far-fetched just to be able to attack with Excadrill next turn and get that Stadium card back.
True. I mean, it does keep the cycle going. You also, decks like, CMT that's still going to see play for a short while. You can use that Twist Mountain, get rid of their Sky Arrow. They play another Sky Arrow. Well, you just pick up Twist Mountain again, play it back down. They lose their free retreat again. That one Twist Mountain can be played as many times as you need it. Their Sky Arrow can't. They can run most of 4. And so I want to start junk arming for it. And will any player want to drop that? Such strong. Will any player want to drop cards from their hand just to say, I want my stadium back?
You can't get stadiums with junk arms.
Can you not?
Junk arms are trainer item.
Oh, is it trainer item? So yeah, they can't even do that. So once it's gone, it's gone. Never mind. I will shut my mouth. There's one glaring issue though that we've not actually looked at yet, and actually it comes from one of Excadrill's greatest strengths. It's also one of his weaknesses.
Heavy ball.
Oh no, not that. The fighting typing.
Ah.
With Tornadus X being due on the horizon, and everyone hyping it, which baffles me when we've got a format full of electric types. Why you'd want to run?
Well, CMT is doing pretty well at the moment, so.
Yeah, I mean
they're running Tornaduses, and they seem to be getting away with it.
I don't think they have Zeal the same way we do. We can't really compare to the Japanese formats. I mean,
when talking about Tornadus, I meant normal Tornadus.
Oh no! Normal Tornadus is fine. It's an early game attacker for CMT. I mean, Tornadus X.
Well, isn't that really much the same thing, except it has a bit more HP?
It has a lot more HP, and it's got the capability of 60 turn 1 on double colorless. I mean, that's the main reason that people are actually hyping it, I think, just for the donk. When it's like, you miss that donk, you've got half a format to worry about.
Is there really anything majorly? I mean, I'm talking about the top to 4 decks or something. Is there anything that can really donk for 40? I mean, if you're playing Eels, you have to really hope they start with an Eel. If they start with a Thunderous or a Zekrom or something like that, it's there's no way that's going to happen.
True, but it's actually the damage output is 60. So there's quite a few normal basics are wiped out that way. They start Lone Celebrate.
Well, anything that needs an evolution chain is wiped out anyway.
Well, there's also...
Unless your name is Whaler.
Oh, is that another deck you want to cover now?
No, it's just that this is the only guy in format that has a ton of HP.
True. There's a couple of the Drillbers carry 70 hit points, so they will just survive.
Yeah, but it's just I can see why you'd want to do 60 turn 1, but it's surely Mewtwo does kind of a similar thing. I mean, doesn't he do 40 turn 1 or something? And
60 if they've attached.
But I kind of see, obviously with CMT, I can see why, but it's again in electric format. Obviously, normal Tornadus isn't as bad because you're not going to lose 2 prizes off it, and it's going to be hit for exactly the same weakness. It's probably, if it's against Raikou or something, it's going to get hit for 200 regardless of which one you use. Mm-hmm. So it's really more which one you prefer to use. I mean, as you say, people are going to starting or trying to donk with Tornadus X. Against Eels, that's just going to be a free 2 prizes in all essence.
Yeah, true. But actually, to get back onto subject, because we've gone from Excadrill to actually focusing on Tornadus here. It's mostly the whole reason I brought up Tornadus is its fighting resistance.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Donphan had to do stuff fairly format.
I know, it's once things came in that resisted Donphan, it was actually pretty much removed from the formats. People have only just started considering it again because of the electric uprise.
Mm.
But at the moment, we've got this attack for 2 fighting, and against Tornadus X, or normal Tornadus, you'll be doing 30 a turn.
10 if it has an Evilite.
Yes, that's why we really need to look at a secondary partner for Excadrill. What can turn this around? And this is actually actually quite convenient that we're recording today because you've actually been shown a new counter, haven't you?
Yeah. So I was looking on the Pokébeach forums, and I don't know if it's it's not I wouldn't say a solid counter. I'd say it's food for thought. The Galvantula from Dark Explorers. It's second attack which is it Electro Silk now in the TGC? I've not got in front of me. But regardless of what it's called, it's for a colorless and an electric energy. It does 30 damage. If the opponent's active Pokemon has no retreat cost, it will do an additional 40.
So you're effectively doing 70 against something like Tornadus. You'll be doing 140.
Yeah.
Which means even if it is knocked out in one turn, which with 80 hit points I could see that happening, Excadrill's actual damage output isn't too much of a worry now. You've got most of the work done. You can afford to try and chip away at it. Oh, and you were right. It's actually Electric Silk, the attack name.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I went and checked the scans. Cool. Also, I'm loving his artwork. It's pretty. I don't think we've had a Gavantula like looks or sounds bad yet.
Yeah, it's one of those good cards. But yeah, other than one-off text you could run in Excadrill now, because it really doesn't matter what gets put into the discard pile, because you just drag anything out. It's or you can run one lost removal, or crushing camera or whatever you feel like you can run one of or get away with.
I think with lost remover, minimum 2. If you come into a matchup where you need the lost remover, you want to guarantee you have at least one in deck.
Yeah, but as I say, the only real major matchup it loses at the moment to that exists in the metagame at the moment, it seems to be really bad matchup against CMT. Durant, it doesn't seem. I don't think it'll have too much problems against. Early game, if we will, because Durant will have all the crushing cameras, and if they're getting heads, it's probably going to mean a lot of more setup for Excadrill.
Mm-hmm.
But I think late game when Excadrill, when they've used up all the crushing cameras, all the junk arms and stuff like that, once Excadrill is just able to recycle like Flower Shop Lady or Super Rod or whatever, and Durant starts its entire thing is shut down, I think Excadrill will probably come on top of that, especially if it goes to time.
Mm-hmm.
But
the Durant matchup, as you've just described perfectly, will actually pretty much be sorted out by Excadrill. With CMT, though, I think it will all come down to the early game and whether they can pressure you out of a mid game.
I think CMT just hits too fast for Excadrill to really set up properly. I mean, it's only 100 HP, 120 even. So Mewtwo needs what does Mewtwo need? 6 energy to do that.
6 energy between the two, yeah. It is a case of you can actually. It isn't unsurvivable. You need a good start, but you could still really push for it.
Yeah,
I think if Excadrill can make the mid game happen.
I think it can, but if
it makes the mid game happen, it can fight back, because after a while, once you've got that first catcher, you've got the Excadrill, and you've got some way of consistently putting an extra 10 out there, be it through Aerodactyl or through plus powers, you can just take away their Celebies. That's the energy acceleration gone, and that means the first Mewtwo that drops pretty much gives you a chance to fight back. It's going to be a really tough matchup. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Excadrill wins if it gets to the mid game, but it stands a chance of pushing back.
I don't know. I mean, Excadrill. I mean, if a smart CMT player will probably just start pulling down Celebies and Tornadus and just set up with Tornadus, because Excadrill has no chance of really actually stopping a Tornadus setup. I mean, especially with Neophyte, it's doing like 10 a turn. And a smart CMT player probably just let his Celebies drop, and then when they've got a lone Tornadus there, you can just keep attacking like 80 a turn, and that's probably going to just win the game, to be honest.
True. I keep on forgetting that there's that third card in that deck. It's probably because the only CMT matchup I've ever seen, I didn't have to face that. Basically they're shaming did all the work for them.
Well, it's just the T. That's why.
Yeah, I always think I just think Celebi Mewtwo, and then my brain shuts off after 2 words. I've not got the attention span for it. Yeah. But anyway, I think we've run into a bit of a marathon of an episode, so I think we should call it a day for now. Right. I've been Ratata Joey.
I've been Maxon.
If you like what you've heard, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay in the top percent.